Luis Tagle's incredible journey from a young priest in the Philippines to a globally recognized cardinal of the Catholic Church has been a testament to his deep-rooted faith, commitment to his calling, and exceptional leadership. Known for living a life that exemplifies humility and service, Tagle's impact reaches not only those within his church, but also across the international religious and political spectrum. His personal belief in the need to share the gift of faith is central to his priesthood and papacy, and it has shaped his approach to the world. Always focus on uniting people through their faith, no matter the challenges that may arise. One of the core aspects of Tagle's journey has been his profound connection to music. For many Filipinos, music serves as a language of the heart, providing both an outlet for emotions and a way to communicate with God. Tangle has often highlighted the healing power of music, emphasizing that it's not only in times of joy, but especially in moments of sorrow and loss where melodies can become more powerful than words alone. Music, in Tangle's eyes, isn't merely an art form. It's a way of conveying one's soul, something that transcends culture and connects people universally. This love for music began at a young age and continued through his seminary years, where he shared a meaningful relationship with one of his mentors, Father Jim. Father Jim, who also became a great friend, served as the choir director during their seminary years. His way of infusing fun, joy, and energy into each choir practice session was a notable departure from the stern and often intense atmosphere other choir directors brought. Father Jim's charismatic style and ease in leading the choir made him a memorable figure in Tangle's life, and they formed a bond over music that remained strong throughout the years. It was in these moments of shared melodies and rhythms that Tangle found an even deeper connection to his faith and his vocation. Their fun approach to making music helped Tangle and his fellow seminarians view worship and service in a lighthearted and inspiring way. Tangle's vocation, however, goes beyond his appreciation for music. As a priest and cardinal, he is consistently called upon to represent the Church on an international scale. One of his most significant roles involves accompanying Pope Francis during apostolic visits, which have spanned across different continents, such as Asia and Oceania. These trips aren't about demonstrating strength or stamina, but rather about making a humbling act of obedience to the mission that the Church carries. These journeys, which span thousands of kilometers, are centered around the Pope's message of global unity and service, particularly focusing on areas that are often overlooked or suffering from oppression. In the fall of 2021, Pope Francis embarked on one of the most demanding apostolic visits in recent church history, with a journey covering regions such as Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, East Timor, and Singapore. For Tangle, these travels represented an ongoing commitment to spread the word of God to both marginalized and thriving communities. However, what truly struck Tangle was how the Pope's call was not only heard from religious leaders, but also from civil authorities who saw the presence of the Pope as a powerful symbol of human fraternity, peace, and justice. This is a central theme in Tangle's understanding of faith. The realization that the message of Christ extends far beyond religious institutions and touches every human soul, regardless of geographical location, status, or background. Although this apostolic visit was originally planned in 2020, the global pandemic postponed the mission, showing just how unpredictable and frail plans can be in the face of global crises. Yet when the opportunity arose, Pope Francis embarked on the mission once more. For Tangle, this reflected the Pope's strong sense of paternal closeness to people, especially in the so-called existential peripheries of the world, where suffering and conflict persist. Even as the Pope's work reached corners of the globe that many in the Western world may overlook, Tangle saw this commitment as not just another milestone in the Pope's legacy, but a tangible demonstration of humility, service, and willingness to embrace those in dire need. In conversations with Tangle about the nature of papal visits, the cardinal expressed a belief that the idea of a geographic preference, where people interpret the Pope's visit as an attempt to choose one region over another, is a misreading of the mission itself. According to Tangle, such interpretations fail to understand the Pope's deep desire to unify all people under the shared principles of love, compassion, and peace. The Pope's presence in a given region isn't about one part of the world overshadowing another. Rather, it is an invitation for each area to foster a spirit of mutual respect, understanding, and cooperation. In speaking about the Pope's visit to Asia, a region home to two-thirds of the world's population and the majority of whom are impoverished, Tangle noted that the Pope's messages of hope and salvation resonate strongly with communities facing tremendous hardships, including those affected by war and persecution. It is among these impoverished populations where people, despite their suffering, continue to hold on to the hope and love that the gospel brings. As Tangle emphasized, even in the midst of conflict, Christ's presence and the promise of salvation find a home in these hearts. And as these people gather together to worship, they are not just praying for themselves, but seeking peace and solace for the entire world. This understanding of faith, connection, and universality is something Tangle holds dear. It is a thread that connects all his work as a cardinal, from his advocacy for the marginalized to his deep involvement with the global church's missionary and evangelical efforts. These efforts are not driven solely by invitations from religious authorities. Instead, they are often also a reflection of genuine requests from government officials who recognize the importance of the Pope's presence as a powerful symbol of peace, human dignity, and respect for creation. Tangle's visits to countries like Papua New Guinea, Indonesia, and East Timor exemplify his personal commitment to fostering deeper relationships among people in these regions. Through it all, Tangle's role as both a cardinal and a globally recognized religious leader offers more than just religious guidance. It is an embodiment of hope, compassion, and service, qualities that resonate in his actions and continue to influence many around him. His life journey, from his childhood in the Philippines to his significant role in the global church today, exemplifies the values of humility, compassion, and love, the core tenets of Christian life. Cardinal Luis Tangle's reflections and experiences continue to deepen the understanding of his faith journey, which is especially shaped by the role of Christianity in Asia. His thoughts on the challenges faced by Christian communities in regions where they are minorities have opened his mind to a broader perspective on human experience. Asia, with its wide range of cultures and beliefs, has given Tangle a unique insight into how the gospel has been expressed and lived out in these diverse environments. This journey of discovery is both inspiring and humbling as he continually witnesses the creativity of the Holy Spirit working in surprising and profound ways among the people there. From his interactions with people in these communities, Tangle has observed that the Christian faith is often presented in the most unexpected ways, sometimes through humble acts of service or vibrant expressions of culture, with a deep sense of faith embedded in each encounter. This ever-evolving experience leads Cardinal Tangle to highlight the profound joy and mystery that comes with encountering the faith. The fact that in so many areas of Asia, Christianity finds unique and varied expressions surprises him time and time again. One particular aspect of Christian faith in Asia that stands out is its manifestation in a minority context, where Christian communities often experience isolation. For instance, despite the cultural prominence of Christianity in certain Western nations, in countries like Nepal, India, and various regions in Southeast Asia, Christianity remains a minority faith. These churches in Asia, despite their small size, are constantly reinventing themselves, adjusting to both the larger society's challenges and opportunities while keeping true to the gospel. Tangle reflects that living as a minority, like the early apostles did, has much to teach. In fact, he draws a parallel with the early Christians recorded in the Bible, who navigated life on the fringes of society, often with limited resources. The situation of a parish priest in Nepal, whose vast territory covered an area a third of the size of Italy, but with only 5 parishioners scattered across that land, made Tangle think of the act of the apostles in the Bible. The same circumstances that challenge these communities today reflect the endurance of faith that has marked the church since its earliest days. The church's smallest communities may seem fragile, but in reality, they present a vivid testimony of persistence in faith. Living out the gospel amid overwhelming odds, much like the early followers of Christ who persevered despite being few in number. Beyond his personal experiences, Tangle delves into the bond he shares with Pope Francis and the unique dynamics that have shaped their relationship. Their connection began long before Pope Francis' election to the papacy. Having been among the 6 new cardinals appointed by Pope Benedict XVI in 2012, Tangle was already acquainted with the man who would become his close collaborator, Pope Francis. A few months later, Tangle participated in the papal conclave of March 13, 2013, which elected Pope Francis. The occasion was marked with great reverence, as it was a transformative moment for the Church. During that election, Tangle recounts the moment when the future pope received the necessary votes, an emotional and joyous occasion for all involved. But what made it especially significant was the moment when Tangle noticed the humble posture of then Cardinal Bergoglio, now Pope Francis, as he bowed his head, reflecting the profound humility required for such a mission. Tangle's own emotions shifted as he took in the Pope's posture, recognizing the deep weight of this office. Their bond continued to deepen, especially when Pope Francis addressed the crowd at St. Peter's Square after the election. Tangle, as part of the papal entourage, recalled that the Pope's first words were not about the day's business, but a simple, heartfelt question. "How are your parents?" This seemingly small act left a lasting impact on Tangle, reminding him of the simple, compassionate side of Pope Francis, who continues to approach all of life's challenges with a humility and warmth that have made his papacy stand out. This personal, yet powerful, connection has served as a constant lesson for Tangle throughout his own ministry. Through Pope Francis, Tangle learned the importance of connecting with individuals in the midst of overwhelming crowds, how to balance the weight of responsibility with the necessity of maintaining personal connections, and the need to accept one's limitations as a human being and as a servant of God. He has learned the importance of accepting collaboration and understanding that as leaders, their calling is not to save the Church, but to humbly lead it in service to others. Pope Francis' example has also informed Tangle's ministry in Manila, where he applies these principles of personal connection within the larger structure of the Church. For example, Pope Francis has always demonstrated how, as leaders, it is essential to focus not on business transactions, but on human relationships and mutual care. Tangle's reflections on Pope Francis' simple yet profound interactions with others have enabled him to balance the requirements of his own ministry and stay grounded in the midst of his own clerical responsibilities. At the same time, Pope Francis' clear mission for the Church to reach out and serve the world is one that resonates deeply with Cardinal Tangle. For Pope Francis, the Church's mission isn't solely about institutional expansion or social activism. Instead, the Pope emphasized the need for mission to flow directly from a personal encounter with Jesus Christ. This foundation is essential in evangelization, as it compels believers to act not out of duty, but out of the profound joy that stems from knowing that they are loved and saved by Jesus. Cardinal Tangle echoes this sentiment, emphasizing that mission must come from a heart that experiences the transformative power of the Holy Spirit and from an earnest desire to share that joy with others. The Cardinal echoes Pope Francis' insistence that real Christian mission does not merely entail good works or social initiatives, but rather a real commitment to witnessing Christ's love to the world. As the Church expands and adapts to modern societal structures, Tangle stresses that it is essential not to lose sight of the foundational purpose: to serve, to love, and to share the gospel truth. Missionaries, according to Tangle, must not simply be workers, but must bear authentic witness to the faith they share. The key to authentic mission lies in its deeply personal and spiritual roots. First, a relationship with Jesus and an understanding of his gospel message, and second, a willingness to spread that message through both word and action. Furthermore, as much as Cardinal Tangle reflects on the possibilities of church growth, he also hopes for the continual manifestation of God's gifts to both the Church and the broader world. He continues to see Pope Francis as one who exemplifies this continual gift, a representative of God's will, using his papacy to express the divine love of Christ. Cardinal Tangle's support for the Pope is a reflection of a broader commitment to serve the Church in all its forms, particularly as it continues to learn, grow, and heal from within. Pope Francis' vision for the Church is clear. It is a body that exists to proclaim the gospel with authenticity and truth, always rooted in love and humility. As Tangle's own path continues in the global religious landscape, he does not shy away from considering the possibility of one day being called to lead the Church in a way that Pope Francis has. While his name has occasionally come up as a possible papal candidate, this decision ultimately lies with the College of Cardinals, the Church's highest authority. Nevertheless, regardless of his future, Cardinal Tangle's commitment to humbly and faithfully serving both the Church and humanity will undoubtedly shape his legacy as a spiritual leader committed to God's will above all. The intricate process of papal selection, rooted in over 2 millennia of history, is deeply connected to the early foundations of Christianity and continues to be crucial for the future of the Catholic Church. Originally, the Pope was designated as the Bishop of Rome, a title first given to St. Peter, one of Jesus Christ's 12 apostles, based on the belief that Christ himself appointed Peter as the foundation of his church. This was underpinned by the Petrine theory, which holds that the authority bestowed upon St. Peter has been passed down through the centuries to each subsequent pope. This unbroken line from St. Peter to modern popes is considered essential to the Catholic faith, symbolizing continuity with the teachings and mission of Christ himself. In the early centuries of the Church, the papal election was somewhat informal and could often reflect popular opinions, both from the clergy and the laity. However, this method led to numerous disagreements and divisions, disputed elections, and the rise of anti-popes. Individuals falsely claiming papacy marked periods of political and theological strife. These disruptions, especially during the medieval period, were seen as a threat to the unity of the Catholic Church. To address these issues, Pope Nicholas II in 1059 issued a landmark decree that formalized the process of papal elections. The decree granted more power to the cardinals, particularly the cardinal bishops, ensuring that only they would have a decisive voice in the election. This was a significant step towards curbing the political interference of the Roman aristocracy and establishing the framework for what would eventually evolve into the College of Cardinals. This body became essential for the legitimacy of papal elections, formalized in 1150. Over the centuries, the election process continued to evolve. By 1179, a 2/3 majority vote became mandatory to elect a new pope, setting the stage for a more structured and cooperative process, although it would take several centuries before the precise number of cardinals was determined. By the late 1500s, the total number of cardinals authorized to vote increased to 70, and later, Pope Paul VI further cemented the voting process with a set limit of 120 voting cardinals in 1975. In 1970, an age limit of 80 years for voting cardinals was introduced, ensuring that only those in prime health and vigor could participate in choosing the next pontiff. Following the death or resignation of a pope, the College of Cardinals, bound by strict obligations, must convene within a fixed period to select the next leader of the Catholic Church, barring special circumstances such as illness or age. The conclave, which occurs as a secret gathering, is heralded by the sight of white smoke rising from the Sistine Chapel, signaling to the world that a new pope has been elected. However, the occurrence of a resignation has been rare in church history, and the last resignation before Pope Benedict XVI's voluntary step down in 2013 had not taken place since 1415. The length of the conclave itself, typically 15 to 20 days, gives time for cardinals from all over the world to gather, ensuring thorough discussion and prayer before making their decision. For now, Cardinal Tangle, under the age of 80, remains eligible to take part in such a conclave. With his deep faith, experience, and commitment, he may, in the future, take on the papacy, though only time will reveal what the future holds. Aside from the papal election process, Cardinal Tangle's personal journey in the Church has been greatly influenced by his relationships with the Marian missionaries, and in particular, the Marist missionaries. His first exposure to the Marist missionaries came during his seminary years in the Philippines, where he became close friends with Father Jim Kroger. Their companionship was more than mere acquaintance. It formed the basis of his deep appreciation for the Marist spiritual approach. Unlike traditional missionary work, the Marists were taught and inspired by the belief that missionaries are not only meant to give to others, but should also receive wisdom and lessons from the communities they serve. This philosophy greatly impacted Tangle's spiritual growth. As he later rose through the ranks of the church, Cardinal Tangle was profoundly moved by the idea that missionaries, though they may have come from other countries, become integrated with the people they serve, experiencing life together and learning from the very communities they are sent to help. The Marist community epitomized this ideal, and Tangle recalls how a Marinol missionary undergoing seminary training in the Philippines under the Marist order was not just an outsider, but someone who grew alongside and in relationship with the people. Tangle cherishes these experiences as formative moments that shaped both his views on ministry and the character of being a Christian servant. Furthermore, his deep bond with other Marists is illustrated through his relationships with figures like Father Clyde Phillips and Father Bill LaRuse, two individuals whom he credits for enriching his understanding of mission and for reminding him of the value of spiritual rest and rejuvenation. In particular, Father Ferry's gentle yet firm mentorship became a guiding force in Cardinal Tangle's life. Father Ferry, who understood the importance of balancing hard work with spiritual nourishment, ensured that Tangle, like all servants of the church, took time to restore himself so that his ministry remained strong. It was these kinds of missionary friendships that helped shape Cardinal Tangle's ministry and spirituality. The Marinol missionaries impart a kind of mission-oriented spirit that requires being at home no matter where life takes you. This poignant insight follows the model of Christ, who, as the Son of Man, had no fixed place of rest. The foxes have holes, the birds have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. Tangle's time among the Marists confirmed this notion that no matter where one serves, be it far from home, they are always part of a greater spiritual family united by the same love for God, the gospel, and humanity. There is no true homelessness when one is called to serve in the name of the Lord. Home exists wherever the mission is. Cardinal Tangle's reflections and experiences continue to guide him, particularly in a church that constantly seeks renewal, and they resonate as a testimony of how true mission is a personal calling, not just an occupation. The authenticity of missioners, the humility and openness they must possess, and the capacity for communal love are essential values that are brought alive through lived experiences. Experiences that inspire his vision of what the church can truly represent in today's ever-changing world. Tangle's journey is one rooted in faith, service, and a deep commitment to the broader mission of the church, and perhaps one day it could bring him to even higher stations, such as the papacy. But regardless of his future, his work speaks volumes about the calling every Christian has to serve and love one another as Christ taught.